Today we embark on a daring mission to see which AI wins the ultimate battle of wits. 4 contenders stand before us: ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, Claude, and DeepSeek. But who will reign supreme? To find out, I asked them each 10 very tricky questions. So the first question that I asked these chatbots was, how many vowels does Namaste have in Hindi and in English? What I wanted to try to learn was whether it can understand different languages and also count vowels and really understand what vowels means. Now ChatGPT gets it right. In Hindi we have a, and in English we have a, e, and so we have 3 for each. But then when we ask Microsoft Copilot, interestingly enough, it misses that second in Hindi, so it only says it has 2 vowels, and a, but English is correct. And then in Claude, it really explains for each if it's a vowel or not a vowel in both Hindi and English, and it gets that right, 3 for each. For DeepSeek, again, it sort of explains like which ones are the vowels, a, and then a and e. And it really gives you the whole list of like what vowels are in Hindi and English, and it gets the right answer that there's 3 for each. So it looks like the chatbots have a great understanding of what vowels are, especially in the English language. So the next question I asked was more of a problem-solving question of add the number of consonants and the number of vowels in the word sphygmomanometer. And I was kind of curious if it just, number of consonants plus number of vowels is the total number of letters. So I was wondering if it would just go straight to the answer or if it would calculate it. ChatGPT, interestingly, gets this wrong. It says that there's a total of 19 and that there are 8 vowels, and it counts A and O multiple times, even though they aren't coming up multiple times. We asked Microsoft Copilot, and it says, that there's 17. And again, it does that weird thing with the vowels of it gets all these A's and O's. And then we asked Claude, and Claude says, again, it interestingly gets the same answer as Microsoft Copilot of 17. And again, that it's a little messed up with these A's and O's. And so finally we asked DeepSeek, and DeepSeek is the only one that gets this correctly. There are 16 letters, and I love how it does it 2 ways, where it first just tries to find out what's a consonant, what's the vowels. It's really step-by-step reasoning. And it even explains that, in this case, Y is a vowel. And so they said 6 vowels, 10 consonants. And now we add the 2 numbers, and it verifies it as well that there's 16 letters. So this is indeed correct, which I absolutely love. So the next question I asked was a twist on an age-old riddle. A father and son are in a car accident. The father dies. The son is rushed into the hospital. The doctor there says, I can't operate on him. He's my son. How is this possible? And so sorry if this is a spoiler, the answer is that the doctor is his mother. And sometimes because of our biases of what doctors may look like, that might make this riddle trickier than it actually is. And so I asked ChatGPT the same thing, but I said instead that the mother and son were in the car and the mother died. And so how is this possible? And so ChatGPT says it's his mother or father, which is a very weird answer because I already said his mother died. And then it talks about all this traditional stuff, but it's not really related to the question anymore. So then I asked the same thing to Microsoft Copilot, and this gives the best answer. It says it could be his father or it could be his other parent. And that was really awesome that, it is really thinking about who this other person could be, and it's absolutely correct. And then I asked Claude the same thing, and Claude totally gets it off. It says that the doctor is the mother, and that obviously doesn't make sense because the mother has died. And so then I asked DeepSeek, and once again we get this answer of, it's the mother, and that all about these traditions and biases and things like that. And it's like, again, not relevant to the question. So it's kind of funny. These chatbots sometimes remind me of when I was a little kid, and I would just give the answer to the thing that I know and not necessarily answer the question and, just spout off facts. And so these chatbots remind me of that. So the next question was also a twist on the riddle. This was the Sphinx's riddle. What goes on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 3 legs in the evening? And again, sorry for the spoiler, but it's a human being, because a baby crawls, and then when you are a child or an adult, you are walking on your 2 feet, and then as an older person, you walk with a cane, and so that cane plus your 2 legs are 3 legs. Now, I asked a twist on this, so I said 6 legs in the evening, thinking more instead of a cane, a walker. And ChatGPT got that perfectly correct because you have the walker's 4 legs and the person's 2 legs. So then I asked Microsoft Copilot the same question, and it only talked about the cane, which was, part of the original riddle of the 3 legs, the 2 legs plus the cane, but didn't mention a walker, didn't explain why the 6 legs. So didn't answer. And then Claude asked the same question, and so they talk about the 6 legs. So they mentioned 6 legs, but their answer is kind of weird. I think 2 legs plus 2 walking stick supports. That would come out to 4, I think. So yeah, not quite. Then I asked DeepSeek what it thought, and this was kind of correct and kind of not so correct, because it did mention that the 6 legs could be because of a walker, but it also mentioned that it could be 2 canes, which again, that would come out to 4, not 6. So the next thing that I asked these chatbots to do was to create an image of a clock at 5:15. Now, something to know about a lot of stock images out there that these chatbots have been trained on is that the hands tend to be at 10:10. Now, conceptually, ChatGPT understood what 5:15 looked like, but when it came to painting that image, it was not close. It was still 10:10 like the stock images. Again, I asked Microsoft Copilot the same question. It doesn't explain what 5:15 looks like, but when it comes to the image, again, it's more of that 10:10. It's a beautiful clock, but not the correct answer. And so then I asked Claude. Now, Claude actually cannot paint images in the same way Microsoft Copilot or ChatGPT can. So what it does, it created an SVG. Again, it understood that the hour hand is past the 5 and the minute hand is precisely at 3. But however, the SVG does not show us that. And DeepSeek cannot create images, so we didn't test it with that. So then the next question I asked was, hey, okay, can you paint a picture of someone writing with their left hand? As you can imagine, most of the stock images will show someone writing with their right hand. So I was curious, how well these chatbots would do. As usual, ChatGPT kind of failed with this one. They showed a person writing with their right hand. And again, when we asked Microsoft Copilot, the same thing. Again, it was that right hand. So sorry, my left-handers. And then when we asked Claude, it creates an SVG. And honestly, I'm not sure how to interpret this piece of contemporary art. But it says that the pen is being held by the left hand, and if the triangle is supposed to be the pen, then maybe Claude got it correctly. I'm not entirely sure. The next thing I did was I asked it how I could win this game of tic-tac-toe, and what I did was I provided an image. So I wanted to test the multimodal functionality of this. And I told it that I am X, and I showed the image. So for our image, we have 2 X's and 2 O's. The X's is in the middle row, as you can see in the left and right, and the O's is top and bottom on the right hand side. But when it tries to recreate the tic-tac board, it is not quite right. It shows the X's at the top row instead of the middle row. And even the O's are completely off. So while their solution is correct for the tic-tac board, they suggest it's not correct for what I was thinking. Now, when we look at what Microsoft Copilot does, it explains that the top left and middle left cells both have X, and top right and bottom right cells have O, and that doesn't look right at all. So yeah, again, it's misinterpreting the board. So I wonder if it just can't recognize the images all that well, or if there's, some bigger issues. But let's see if the solution is correct for the board that they think it is. So they said, hey, you can place it in the bottom left cell. And yeah, that would work for the current state of the game that they have in mind. And then it starts to sell me these tic-tac-toe boards. So thank you, but yeah, not interested right now. And so then I asked Claude, and so Claude says that, hey, you have it in the bottom left and middle right, and then O is in the top right and bottom right. Yeah, no, that's again not correct. Somehow it's really having a hard time, I think, finding these X's in all of these. But let's see if the solution they've given for the board that they're saying is correct. So they say a vertical line to the middle column. I don't really understand that because it says bottom left. If X is on bottom left, then I don't think that that's quite correct. Or it's a diagonal from top right to bottom left. Top right is where O is. So yeah, no. So then we go to DeepSeek, and I again input my tic-tac-toe board, and so we'll see what this gives us. It got the exact same board that I had in mind, that I showed it. It was able to translate it. So DeepSeek did a great job in interpreting the image, and it also gave me the correct solution of how I can win as an X. The next thing I did was, if you're familiar with this, one of my favorite games that I like to play on the iPad is Fruit Ninja. So I asked it to write a Python script for Fruit Ninja. And so what ChatGPT gave me was this Pygame version of it. And so I'm really interested. And so I will run this locally in just a second here. But it does want me to get my own fruit.png image. So I'm going to just grab a random image offline. Obviously, I could also ask ChatGPT to create an image for me. But what's interesting is that you can test out your code. It's also kind of complaining now, like, hey, you've done the free plan limit because you added an attachment. I think the tic-tac-toe game triggered that. But I can press run, which I thought was kind of interesting, but I think because it is Pygame and Pygame usually opens like one more window, it didn't work out for me. If you know a way that it can work within the like sort of ChatGPT game console, then let me know in the comments, but I couldn't really get it to work, so I'm going to try this locally. I downloaded fruit.png. It's a picture of a watermelon, as you can see, and I'm able to click on that and it increments my score. So it's sort of like Fruit Ninja. But watch what happens. When I missed a watermelon, the score just wouldn't increment. Nothing would happen. There's no more watermelons. You can see again, there's just this white screen. There's no game over sign. There's no, hey, you lost, start over again, or let's just send you more watermelons. So I wasn't a fan of this game. Now, for Microsoft Copilot, it was interesting. It didn't want to make it overly complicated. It didn't want to use Pygame. And so it gave me a simplified version where it doesn't have all the beautiful graphical user interface, but it's more text-based version. So we're going to try that out now. This was a console-only game, so all I needed to do was I needed to type slice and whatever the fruit that it wanted me to slice. So slice orange, and I had to do it within like 3 seconds, because if I take longer, then it says that, your score is not incremented. But if I take shorter, then it does give me 1 point. And you can see it works pretty well. It keeps on incrementing this score. And then eventually, when I'm done with playing the game, I can just say, hey, yeah, I want to quit. And yeah, it gives me the final score. And so it's pretty nice. Claude, it wrote Python script, again, using Pygame. So we will try that out. So Claude's pretty nice. I didn't have to download the fruit.png or anything like that. It created its own colorful circles to resemble fruits. And each time I click on it, the score does get incremented. So it's pretty nice. And even if I miss a fruit, it doesn't just stop. I can keep on playing. One issue I did find was I was able to click on a fruit multiple times, and the score would keep on incrementing. And then when we look at DeepSeek, again, it writes some code for us. So yeah, let's try that out. Okay, so the sad part of the code that DeepSeek generated was that it didn't work. When I pressed run, I noticed that it was missing a parenthesis. So I just added one and figured, let me try it. And it did work after the parentheses. And in fact, I thought out of all the games produced, this was the best game. You can see that actual slashing of the fruit. It's amazing. I have 3 lives and I have a final score. The next thing I wanted to do was I asked it to create a table of top 10 most expensive items at Amazon. And I told it what the table should include. So name of product, link to product, because, we want to buy this, not really, and the price. Honestly, this was out of curiosity more than anything else, and to see kind of how the table would render. Table render is great. There's the product name, product link, and price, and my goodness, those things do look expensive. But I was really curious about the links, because most of these chatbots do have a knowledge cutoff. And as you can see, when we click on these links, maybe these links did exist, but they don't anymore. But they are linked to Amazon. So that is interesting that it is linking to Amazon. And you'll see why that's interesting in just a second here. Because we tried the same thing for Microsoft Copilot, which I honestly thought that this one would be giving us the best answer because it is connected to the internet. And it doesn't really have that knowledge cutoff issue that some of these other chatbots do. But when I asked it the same question, again, it rendered a table. But when I click on view products, it's taking me to these third-party websites that have articles on what are these most expensive items. It's not actually connected to Amazon. I mean, to be fair, this is a sort of difficult question. But that just tells you that maybe, you're better off asking for what are the most expensive things. Maybe these chatbots will refer to some other article and then Googling it yourself and finding it on Amazon. So then I asked Claude. And so Claude again gave me a table, and much similar to Microsoft Copilot, it did link to Amazon website, so that was good. But those links, maybe they never existed or they just don't exist anymore. And the last thing was I asked DeepSeek. DeepSeek took quite the time to create this table, but again, similarly, it linked to Amazon website, but those pages did not exist. So yeah, so all the chatbots kind of failed at this one. And so I asked one last question, are we friends? There's no right answer to the question, but I was curious how the chatbots would respond. And so ChatGPT is like, absolutely. But then when I asked Microsoft Copilot, it wasn't as human-like. While it said that, I like to think so, I just don't experience friendships in the human sense. And so then I asked Claude, and so Claude was outright, hey, I'm an AI, I provide assistant and conversation, I can engage meaningfully, but I don't form friendships. I'm here to support you. So again, this is a little more sort of that robotic. And then when I asked DeepSeek, DeepSeek was so chill. So here are the final scorings. I did not give partial credit, so these bots might have done a little better than these scores show. But I have given pink and green check marks to these bots. Pink if there were other bots who got that question right. Maybe not all the bots got it, but some did get it. And the green check mark is if they were the only bot that got this correctly. And so each of these bots have had their moment where they were much better than the other bots. There is no consistency, I think. I also wanted to explain some of the scorings. Most of these we have, talked about, but I wanted to say about the left-hand picture. I did give Claude that point, even though it might have been a stretch. And for Fruit Ninja, I did not give ChatGPT the point because even though it had the working code, if you remember, it used to get stuck in that white screen, and so I was not a fan. I would not say that was a complete product. And DeepSeek was the best Fruit Ninja game, but it was missing that parenthesis, so I couldn't have given that point. All in all, I think they all did pretty well. These were hard questions. Obviously, there is room for improvement. I'm not going to declare a winner because all of them said that they were my friends and I don't want to, do anything to ruin our friendship. But I will say the most surprising turnout for me was DeepSeek. It is actually pretty good. So yeah, that's all I had for now. See you next time, folks. Okay, I had to ask Claude this because I must have pronounced Claude like a million different times in this video. So how do you pronounce Claude? Claude.